Hey fellow agents, this is Agent Smith, and we are playing SQ6. So, in the last one I came to the compost system and I found the known races database system, and I feel like this is going to be a piece of information we're going to need, considering how much there is in here. I've reviewed through the rest of the database info, and there's really not much to see in there. So in the last one, you know what, I'll start straight from the beginning and work our way through all of these. The Andromedan decapus says to see the Coronian tentacular slime sucker, which we'll get to when we get to that. We read about the Andromedans. They were talking about the two guys from Andromeda, and we read about the Borg, or the Bjorn as they call them in this. Big Dealers. The primary civilization of the planet Mega Big Deal in the Sector B subcluster. See Coronian killer mammal. So a lot of these don't have a lot to say out here, so we'll go through this and see if it gives us something interesting.
You get fingerprints all...
Stop touching the screen, Smith. Alright, bicranial crud snorter. Imagine a crud snorter, only with a bifurcated cranium. Bicranial crud snorters are limber, simian creatures with frontal lobes the size of Talosian binary cassavas. One would assume this makes them smarter than the average simian. One would be very wrong. Bicranial crud snorters prove the old adage that is not how big your brain is, it's what you do with it. Just like their monocranial cousins, they spend most of their time snorting crud and then hacking it out again in extended coughing fits that often last up to 12 hours. While they're not gagging and choking, bicranial crud snorters enjoy swimming, cycling, jazzing, eating gibberellian dust mites. Sorry, that name made me laugh, I don't know why. Alright, let's see. Next page. So there's not too much, only a few on each one. We already read about the Bjorn. The Bjorn are like the Borg, essentially, and, yeah. Some of these things just give you the information about them. Some of them actually give you interesting foodstuffs and things to read. So we'll go to the next one. The Boerthinic boulder beaver. The herbivorous boulder beaver is most recognizable for its powerful prehensile tail, unlike the tails of most beavers, which are strong enough to fling mud. The boulder beaver can use his tail to bench about 340 pounds for sets of 15 reps without even stopping for fruit-flavored sports beverage. Hence, it can in fact create a dam out of boulders or nearly any other material, including molten steel, lava, and stellar core fragments. The beaver prefers to eat sweet, spicy leaves of the creepy habanero eucalyptus vine, and it is a replicator number that we could put into the replicator to get these different things. I have a feeling this is going to come in handy at some point or another. So, between episodes, I took the time to write all these down, and I figured it'd be good to come back to all of this stuff. Like I said, so I took the time to write these down, or I will take the time to write these down, should I say. Once I'm done with all of these off camera, so you guys don't have to see me writing all this time. Let's get on with the informationals. Anyway, Irnon sea urchin. The Irnon sea urchin is a pitiful little creature and doesn't really care who knows it. It cries constantly, which was only recently discovered since the creature lives underwater. Can't see the tears. It also refuses to play with the other Irnon sea urchins. However, some of its feelings are understandable. After all, it's just about the ugliest sucker on Irnon. Its spiny quills make romance a tedious and impractical affair, and its gonads are highly prized as sushi. This would make you cranky too. The Estrosian sea slugs. I believe those are the creatures that was on Labion when we were in the Space Quest 10 segment of Space Quest 4. The multi-tentacled sea slug is a large, menacing carnivore with a squid-like beak. Its spectacular adaptive ability and matchless ferocity ensure that it can easily survive for extended periods underwater, on land, or in space. However, due to the numerous disgusting habits and unrestrained lifestyle, the Estrosian sea slug would not hold up for more than 5 minutes under the scrutiny of the liberal media. Estrosian sea slugs eat all manner of creatures, particularly aquatic ones. Their favorite food of all, though, is the latex babe of Estros, which is actually listed further in here. This is probably the longest segment of letters on here, but no, actually that was the end of that one. Yep, 5 and more just goes back to the beginning. Sweet, next. Next, F through M. The Galonian gutter rats. Galonian gutter rats are small, are so slimy. Well, that's weirdly said. Galanian gutter rats are so slimy, sniveling, and nasty that they give a bad name to all other gutter rats. God, I have such a hard time saying shit today. But of all their despicable habits, the worst is the fact that they're the lousiest bowlers in the galaxy, hence their name. Oh, okay. Galonians are just bad bullies then. Not only do they rarely break 100, but they talk loud and cuss when other people are seriously trying to bowl. Their preferred diet is a bowling alley combo of french fries, burgers, hot dogs, and beer. And another replicator listing for more than likely going to be needing these food items for something. Green slime, half animal, half vegetable, and half lousy mathematician. The green slime of xenon is a vague byproduct of industrial waste and organic compounds combined with powerful electric charge. That's the green slime that we collected in Space Quest 4, actually. The resulting life form is slow-moving mass of gelatinous, acidic protoplasm that is simple reflexes and voracious appetite. This makes it ideally suited to dissolving locks and appearing in bad horror movies. Green slime will eat anything in its path, dissolving it quickly, but not painlessly. Bizarrely, it has no effect on glass, making it ultra convenient to carry around bits of green slime in an ordinary jar. Indeed, it was marketed this way under the name Face Begone, Orc City. The Grell. At one time, many eons ago, Grell was primary inhabitants of Corona. I believe that was creatures we've seen. That wasn't like the first one, I believe. Like the alien race, the intelligent alien race. Artifacts and ruins have revealed much about them. They were creatures of immense size, towering some 30 to 40 feet tall. That's definitely not them. They were extremely ugly and couldn't bear to look at one another, which is why their race died out entirely. They were hunter-gatherers, preferring hunting gatherers to gathering hunters. Stupid. The Coronian tentacular slime sucker, which was we were referenced to go look for this one. The Coronian tentacular slime sucker, which lives deep in the subterranean caverns of Corona, has never been seen by anybody who's lived to provide a complete description. I believe that's that purple tentacle thing that was in Space Quest 1. All of that has ever been seen are their slimy tentacles, which are tentacle-like and slimy, resembling tentacle-like slimy tentacles. Anything finding its way into these tentacles is first slimed and then devoured. This is an appropriate moment to note that tentacles comes from the root tentacles, since the Andromedan decapus, which is 10 serpentine flexible appendages, tickled its foes to death. That's just another fun fact to know and to tell.
You summon the...
Yeah, next one. The Coronian killer mammal. The Coronian killer mammal has an undeservedly fierce reputation, due primarily to its name or rather to what its name has become over the course of the generations of sloppy pronunciation. Originally known as the lonely and bewildered sandbill, the Coronian killer mammal is a gentle, slow-moving herbivorous insect that would rather squash itself flat than come into contact with other life forms. These tiny, introverted creatures are native to the planet Omega Big Deal. It's the stupidest name for a planet, next to Delta Burke Salon. But anyway, the only planet with the distinction of having its entire civilization flunk phonics. I guess. This lack of linguistic agility is said to account for the distortion of the sandbill's name, although another theory has been put forth that the killer mammal appellation is merely due to centuries of sarcasm. The Coronian killer mammal eats dust mites. If you ever need to know how to get replicated dust mites, there's your number. Lots and lots of them. I feel like that's probably going to come in handy, actually, for something else. I remember them saying something for that. Anyway, dust mites will probably come in handy at some point. The Coronians themselves. The sentient civilization of Corona consists of Coronians, a secretive and shy race of scholarly old men. They devote their lives to pursuit of dissemination of knowledge. Conversations with Coronians liable to be dry, peppered with obscure and dull references to places and people you've never heard of, full of self-congratulatory rhetoric. Sounds like myself when I'm talking to my coworkers about all this type of stuff, certain gaming stuff. Most members of Mensa are Coronians. Most Coronians are vegans and prefer the local flora, which can be found in the replicator number there. However, some Coronians eat their own young, just so they can knowingly say, "Oh yes, I've done that. We taste like chicken." So they're that nerdy. The killer cave beaver. We'll go against the other beaver, I suppose. This beaver's eyesight is among the worst in the galaxy. I think these were actually in Space Quest 2, and it's what killed you if you didn't have the jewel in your mouth before you go through the caves to find the pink people. Matched, they have, their eyesight is the worst in the galaxy, matched only by the giant cataract bear of Pestilon and the blind plummeting mountain goat of Andromeda. Although the cave beaver is herbivorous, it frequently accidentally kills other creatures because up close they all look like tree trunks. It's only after the beaver has chewed its way through the nearest sturdy limb that it discovers the limb is some creature's arm or leg. Thus, the dams made by the killer cave beaver are quite disgusting. The killer cave beaver's favorite food is clinging girlfriend ivy. I hope that's a plant and not like somebody's girlfriend in this game. Anyway, now onto the Labion stuff. The Labion cave squid. The Labion cave squid is a fish-like mammal which is not yet realized as land dweller. Thus, it still tends to squirt ink, which just lies ineffectively on a puddle on the ground and gets on the bottom of your boots. They're just annoying. It also uses typical squid-like flexing motion to propel itself, very inefficient mode of transportation when moving through rocky tunnels, but in water it would be good. So the Labion cave squid gets a lot of nasty cuts and scrapes as it tries to frog kick its way across rough stone floor. That sounds weird. Should be an S somewhere in there. Anyway, this makes it more cranky than ever. The cave squid is also frightened by by both humanoids and light, since it thinks it's still in the murky depths of the deep Labion swamps. Don't confuse it by approaching it. It will happily crush you rather than be forced to question its reality. It will also eat you if given the opportunity. More Labions. Labion Rootmaster, a direct descendant of Venus buggerfly. Probably that thing that flew over us in the last one, or in number 4. The Labion root monster is a carnivorous plant with roots both above and below ground. The underground roots absorb water and nutrients normally, but the soil of Labion is nitrogen poor, so the above ground roots collect nitrogen by capturing and digesting small stupid animals and larger stupider ones. When disturbed, the roots wrap around the luckless creatures and convey it to the central sac, wherein... Oh, no. Maybe not. I was going to say that's like that thing that exploded for us before. But anyway, wherein lies the digestive juices and spike-like cilia that reduce the creature to a pulp-like consistency. I thought maybe like the creature in the second one, but honestly, that's not Labion, so... At this point, the root monster exudes nitrogen like a Clorox 2 bean bladder at a Gilroy 9 garlic festival. Hey, that's a California reference. Garlic festival in Gilroy is actually pretty awesome. If you want to try garlic ice cream, go out there. The Labion Rootmaster is best observed at a distance or in the highly acclaimed vid-cart series The Trials of Grotesque Alien Animal Behavior by highly acclaimed naturalist Dr. David Attenborough. There we go. Attenborough. I get it. It's supposed to be David Attenborough, though. Attenborough. Stupid. Next. Bad joke. Labion Swamp Slurpee. The Swamp Slurpee is believed to be a hideous, grotesque half-fish, half-reptile. Nobody's quite sure because nobody's seen one up close and ever lived to describe it. Witnesses are usually found slightly decapitated or with a modest discount in the cranial region. We can only assume that they eat everyone and everything, so they don't know much about it. The Labion terror beast. The terror beast is aptly named since it spends most of its life in terror. Although the terror beast could easily defeat a humanoid, it usually avoids conflict unless faced with a particularly wimpy opponent. A lot of this sounds like Space Quest 2, honestly, so maybe I'm mixing up my planets. Labion and the place where the latex babes came from, not in the same location. These should be all Space Quest 2 references. Most of its time is spent keeping to itself and avoiding appearances and banquets. Its preferred diet is composed mainly of the roots of the starshock bush, or the starshock bush even. Terror beasts are born with extremely powerful leg muscles. However, one leg is shorter than the other, so the beast tends to spin in tight circles as it zooms across the Labian landscape. Yeah, that was a spinning one. Why I had that whistle, actually. Definitely number 2. This creates a whirlwind effect that can prove particularly hazardous to trailer parks. Highly intelligent creature, the beast enjoys figuring out small puzzles and will often stop in the middle of a hunt to solve a matchstick puzzle or a logic problem or a riddle. Curiously, though, the beast hates arcade sequences, like anyone does. The latex babes. These natives of the planet Estros, yeah, I mixed my thing up, I don't know why, Labion and Estros both sound very vaginal. Are usually nubile humanoid females, although occasionally wily stringy male is not unheard of. They have to have males, otherwise they wouldn't be able to be a race, right? Turn-ons include constructing the finest underwater craft in the galaxy, arc welding and shopping. Turn-offs are Astrosian sea slugs, plaque buildup above the gum line, and 2 timing janitors. They're not referring to me. Their favorite foods are eel wort sashimi, there's a replicator number, and roasted dry mouth gourami, another replicator number for that. I think, yep, that's all the way done with those. Let's head back.
You summon the ability.
We are almost done with all these. I wish I would stop pressing the buttons on the screen. The Nose Nugget Nomads. This video is going to be longer than I expected, but hey, we get all the information out of the way and find any hints and clues there may be. Plus, it's humorous to me anyway. You guys probably don't give 2 shits about all this, so that's alright. The Nose Nugget Nomads. These lumpy creatures toddle around the universe in wood-paneled station wagons with their sack-like children in tow. They go on sightseeing tours that last upwards of 30,000 years. During these tours, they take literally millions of slides, most of which show them waving high on every dinky little planet, asteroid, and intergalactic tourist trap in the Crab Nebula. Sounds like they're tourists then. During their hibernation phase, which lasts about 4,000 years, they have their film developed. When they awaken, they watch their slides. Entire civilizations have risen and fallen during one of the Nose Nugget slideshows. Nose Nuggets pride themselves on their gustate. I can't even say the word. Gustatorial flexibility. They eat whatever foods are native to the location they're visiting. Ooh, man, I tell you. On planets where the natives subsist mainly on nose nuggets, this presents the nose nuggets with a difficult situation in which they often end up having to eat themselves. Stupid. Orats. These aggressive carnivores have been the bane of visitors in planet Corona for hundreds of years. Hulking and heavily muscled, orats walk on 2 powerful hind legs. They enjoy crushing other life forms with their massive forearms. They also enjoy basketball and often combine the 2 by playing a quick game of one-on-one with a recent catch, which is actually what they do to you in that game if they catch you. I don't think I ever got that to happen. I've dealt with mine, but they crush you up into a basketball and throw you away. Interestingly, or not, the flesh of the orat is highly prized for its flavor and buttery texture. It's found as a common ingredient in cuisines in several different planets. As a result, there is a burgeoning black market in orat poaching. For that reason, the orat is considered an endangered species, but nobody seems to mind except for a few chefs. The Pestilon Monochrome Boys. Those guys were in Space Quest 4, but in the Space Quest 1 world. You won't find the monochrome boys in their native habitat. These foul-mouthed, belligerent beasts spend most of the time zipping around and hardly Dramamines bullies weaker life forms and tinkering with their hogs. Dramamines. Anyway. Not their motorcycles, but their real hogs. Don't ask, you don't want to know. The monochrome boys are so named because of their unusual white and gray pigmentation. The blotchy blemishes are partly responsible for their sour demeanor. Do not make eye contact. Should they force a confrontation, do not call them monochrome or boys. It's alright for them to call each other monochrome, but it's not okay for anyone else. The diet of monochrome boys consists mainly of any other life form that has a light, crunchy exoskeleton. The fleabutt pod snatchers. The only other life form indigenous of fleabutt other than Buttinskis. Yeah, okay. Pod snatchers hang from the purplish rock formations that dot the landscape. I think fleabutt was one of the plants we went to at number 5. They attach themselves by means of a strong, solid muscle, and their tough, chitinous outer shell protects them from potential predators. At birth, the pod snatchers cannot focus on its prey. Fortunately, it has glands located near its tear ducts that secrete a liquid glass that hardens and forms a lens over the eye, usually in about an hour. Imagine that, lenses in about an hour. The pod snatcher then looks down from its upside-down perch and unrolls a sticky, extensible tongue that can pick up an enemy 250 times its own weight and snag a fly moving over 35 kilometers per hour. Or perform several dubious tricks designed to get it into Quadrant 12's funniest home videos. Their favorite food is flea Buttinskis, but since there are no flea Buttinskis left on the planet, they mostly eat sand. Of course, because I ate them all, right? The flea Buttinskis. Flea Buttinskis. On Fleabutt, the laws of natural selection are clearly illustrated, particularly in how they can sometimes go horribly awry, and produce a poorly adapted race, totally incapable of surviving against native habitat. The creatures native to Fleabutt are collectively called flea Buttinskis, or blats, for short. Blats, huh? That sounds familiar from somewhere else in this game world. They have 3 fingers which end in suction cups, ideal for grasping small prey or souvenirs. They have oversized pupils for seeing in dim light, large yellow incisors for cutting through food, and long, narrow nostrils to protect against inhaling most foreign objects. Unfortunately, the planet of Fleabutt is a greenish dust ball, has no small prey to grasp, is brightly lit throughout the day-night cycle, features deposits of naturally occurring pulpy food which must be gummed extensively before being swallowed, and then they can actually give you a replicator for that nasty sounding food. It has rock formations which cast off long, narrow slivers of mica, which are easily inhaled by the blats. So they live on a planet that's totally not conducive to their survival. These mica slivers can cause extensive lacerations in the sinus cavities. Thus, any blats who is fortunate enough to survive the atmosphere typically loses his teeth, goes blind, or starves quickly. In fact, there is only one known currently surviving blats who has moved off of Fleabutt to seek a more hospitable environment. I do believe that's in the second one. Pinkins. The Pinkins are a race of many contrasts. They're so cute, you just want to eat them up, but you can't because they're very tough, and you could chew them for hours without making any headway, which is alright because they taste horrible. They live on Labion and create elaborate warrens or dens, and they also swim through the Labion swamps with ease since they use certain berries to repel the swamp slurpees that inhabit the marshes and bayous. However, the berries are ineffective against the monstrous killer cave beavers who invade the dens and feast on the pinkins within. The cave beavers are not intelligent enough to figure out how tough and chewy the pinkins are, and often sample every pinkins in the den before realizing that none of them are tender enough to eat. Pinkins are herbivorous, so they only eat creatures named Herb. Stupid joke. I'm so sorry. They will also eat the young shoots of the Wandering Atheist. Alright, I'm assuming again another plant. And I believe that's the last of this page. Yes, it is. This one was shorter, so now we get on to the last one. And this one's actually, I think, a single page, because there's no forward section. Last page, Sarians, which I believe that's me. No, maybe not. Anyway, the Sarians are a humanoid race, treacherous, evil, but always eager to please. The Sarians make wonderful hosts, especially if they're enemy. Especially if you are their enemy, excuse me. They pride themselves on their technique of torture, mutilation, disfigurement, napkin folding, and selecting the right wine to go with whichever enemy they're eating. They're also easily offended should they insinuate that should you insinuate that they're doing less than their best to grind you into a fine red paste. Sarians are omnivores, preferring to eat old back issues of Omni. I don't even know if that magazine's around anymore. It's an old magazine. Space monkeys. Billions of years ago, the planet of Serenia was devastated by a collision with an asteroid. All water evaporated from the ecosystem. Every day the inhabitants survived was a victory. Eventually, all life perished, or so it was believed. Many of the life forms adapted by encapsulating themselves in cyst-like eggs. When these eggs are immersed in water, they hatch. One such life form is known as the brine monkey, a tiny water-breathing simian. Sereno products mined the planet for its huge deposits of brine monkey eggs. While they were at it, they also mined encysted brine apes, brine marsupials, and brine aardvarks. Sereno has since marketed the monkey eggs under the trademark name Space Monkeys in comic books. Space monkeys prefer space food sticks or tangy, piquant brine bananas, all of which have replicator items. The spiny alien fangs. Spiny alien fangs are a marvel of adaptive ability, with exoskeletons far too cumbersome to permit traditional reproductive techniques. Spiny alien fangs have learned to propagate by kissing. This is not a little platonic kiss. It contains a fertilized egg. Oh, this is the alien that was in Space Quest 2 that kissed you and planted an egg in me. It looked like an alien from the movie Aliens. Anyway, it's not a little platonic kiss. It contains a fertilized egg which heads straight for the victim's stomach. Here it absorbs nutrients for days or weeks, like a parasite, just like a parasite. When it senses the most dramatic moment possible, it bursts forth from the stomach in a spectacular display of special effects. This explosion naturally kills the host. But isn't it worth it all for the cool gore? Especially if the host was merely an extra and not a highly paid guest star. It was myself, though, in that one. And the last entry, the Vulgars, which I'm hoping is the one that'll have some information. There's got to be a purpose to this thing. Unless it's all that food, and I can't recall any need for food so far in this game. Vulgars are a peaceful race of brilliant and logical thinkers whose only real joy in life is to stride around the galaxy with superior attitudes and correct other people's grammar and spelling. They sound like assholes. They also enjoy designing outer space strategy simulation games. I wonder if they're referencing a company. I think SSG was a company at one point. Anyway, tangent. This makes them nearly as insufferable as university academicians. I'm going to go with that. But not as well paid. Considering their placid and stupendous lifestyle, it's interesting to note that the Vulgars have developed an extremely practical martial arts technique called the Vulgar Nerve Pinch, so like Vulcans, okay? This is a tactile oral maneuver in which the pincher pinches the bundle of nerves fibers at the base of the neck while whispering dialogue from either Tango and Cash or Hudson Hawk, both movies. From Denandis. This particular combination of stimuli results in a searing flash of pain and then unconsciousness, which can last for several hours. The technique is demonstrated in Hollow Joint Program 5551212. That's the phone number that they gave us too. Holy crap. That's the phone number they gave us before. No, that isn't. I just read this phone number on the internet the other day. This is a reference. This number is a reference to an Easter egg that got a man fired for making the game Simcopter. What a weird freaking coincidence, man. You don't ever learn one thing before finding it again within a short period of time. They say when you learn something new, you learn it again within 24 hours. Less than 24 hours ago, I found that number being referenced. Not in that. Was it that? No. It was for Gex. That's what it was. The video game Gex. The guy actually that created it didn't get his game the way he wanted to. And he actually put a code in there that told you to call that number, that exact number, to complain about it. But anyway, tangents again. Sorry. Either way, we found everything we can read in this thing. This video is already pretty long for reading through it. I hope you guys like history information and also gives some background on some of the things on the other games if you haven't actually checked all the space quests out. They're actually pretty interesting. So, in the next one, we're going to go forward and see what this code will actually give us and teach us the Vulgarian neck pinch. Hopefully that'll be useful for us. And, yeah. And you guys will hopefully get some forward movement on this story. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great day. Hey fellow agents, don't forget to like and subscribe by clicking the button in the center of the screen. You can also find the last video by clicking the button to the left, and you can take a look at some of the other stuff I've done by clicking the button to the right. Hope you enjoyed the video, and have a good day.